Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mr. Hicks Podcast. We are here getting it in once again, time and time again. So, I want to talk a little bit about the NFL draft coming up, and one of the things that I absolutely love, I used to actually sit up all day when there used to be a 2-day event on Saturday and Sunday. I used to park myself in front of the TV on Saturday and watch every single one, every single pick. It was just absolute amazing fun to me. I am that much of a nerd. That is how far I go back to being that kind of a nerd. So the Chicago Bears had the first pick in the draft. So it's been a really big contention because they have Justin Fields, who was did he ever win the national championship? A very good quarterback in college football, had great weapons, athletic, 5-star quarterback coming out of high school, and consensus that he was the guy that year. Not necessarily that guy that year, but that he was going to be a great quarterback along with Trevor Lawrence, who was also selected that same year. So now the Bears are in exactly the same situation that they were before. So I think one of the reasons why the Bears are in such a tough situation, most people would say just draft Caleb Williams and just kind of trade Justin Fields and get whatever you can from him and reset and move on. The main reason I would say that's a good idea has nothing to do with Fields, because Fields actually started to look better toward the end of the season. It has much more to do with salary. And if you're not 100% sure that your quarterback is the guy, don't pay him. Look what happened with the Giants and Daniel Jones. He had one great year, then he fell off the map. They already paid him. Everybody was like, oh my God, that guy got paid that much. And now they're thinking about taking another quarterback. Even after they just paid a guy, they're going to be in a ridiculous dead money situation where they have a lot of money, cap space, tied up in a position of quarterback. Either way, you're either going to have one quarterback that you know can't play, or you're going to have a quarterback that you can't play on the bench with a rookie starting, or you're going to have to cut him and take a lot of dead money. You don't really want to be in that situation if you're the Bears. So you just don't know if Fields is the guy. So at least if you take Caleb Williams now, at least it resets the clock on that salary, and you got a few years in order to figure out whether or not Caleb is the guy. Drafting the wrong quarterback sets your franchise back 5 years at least. I believe it was Bill Parcells that said that. And it actually makes a lot of sense, because you draft the quarterback, everybody's excited. There's a question as to when you should get him on the field or not. Should you start him early? Should you have the backup or have the veteran come in and let him sit for a while? Then you got to let him play. He's going to suck. And then you got to put weapons around him, and he still might suck. You have to protect him. If you're a bad franchise drafting with the first pick in the draft, your offensive line probably also sucks. So you have to build up your offensive line. So then you have to get him weapons. You have to get him protection. You have to make sure he has a running game. He's going to get at least one offensive coordinator fired, also maybe a head coach, just for you to find out that he sucks. Rinse and repeat. Go back to the beginning and start again. And that's the situation that they're in. The main reason why I think they're going to take Caleb is because of 2017, when they drafted Mitch Trubisky. Now, it's not just that they drafted Mitch Trubisky. It's the fact that they had a chance to draft either Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes, who were also in the same draft. So you look exceptionally dumb as a franchise for passing up on Deshaun Watson. His personal issues, let's say, notwithstanding, is still a damn sight better than Mr. Trubisky ever was. I still, to this day, they played in the same division. I don't know what they saw that made them think Mr. Trubisky was going to be better than Deshaun Watson. I really don't. But that was the direction they went into. And they also passed on Patrick Mahomes, who is definitely the best quarterback in the league right now, and has 3 Super Bowls and is going to try to make a push to be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He's got Andy Reid. If you get him some weapons, they can hang in there and try to win at least 3 or 4 more and try to chase down Tom Brady for the best quarterback of all time. The Bears they missed on that. They missed on that. And you should be ashamed. So they might end up taking Caleb Williams just out of embarrassment, because they don't want to be the one that passed up on a great quarterback, a generational quarterback, again. To do that once in a 10-year span is bad enough. To do it twice is absolutely ridiculous. However, my thinking is a little bit different. I believe that the Washington Redskins want to come up and draft Caleb Williams very badly. They brought in his offensive coordinator from USC, who is also a former NFL coach, hired him as their offensive coordinator. And with that, you got that familiarity. They've got some weapons in Washington. They've cleared a lot of cap space. And they have a new owner coming in. And you can see them wanting to start fresh with the quarterback. And also, he's a hometown guy. He's from D.C. So this would be a really great thing for Washington. But I think this is what you get when you have like bad franchises bumping up against each other. I'm going to give up a bunch of draft capital to move up one spot with an organization that really needs a lot of help and really can't afford to do it, but they want to make a big splash. So if Washington is dumb enough to want to come up and give you a haul, if they're going to swap picks, give you another first, maybe a second and a third coming up, I think you should do it and then move down and take Jayden Daniels. I don't think Jayden Daniels is that far off. He's not as thick as He's not as big. He doesn't weigh as much as Caleb Williams, but he's significantly taller. I believe Jayden Daniels is pushing 6'4". He's like 6'3", 6'4", but he's thin. And Caleb Williams is about 215, 220, but he's short. He's really just scratching 6'1", I believe. So you're talking about two guys that have both won Heisman's. Jayden Daniels had an amazing season this year through the two receivers that are both probably going to be first-round picks this year. So I don't think it's as big a fall-off as most other people do. Mostly what you're happy with about Caleb Williams is what he does off-script and what he does when the play breaks down, his ability to extend plays. Nothing wrong with that. I just don't think you should be drafting for, like, backyard football. Unless you are the athleticism of Lamar Jackson. You want to do that, good for you. But I don't think Caleb Williams is either one of them is at that level of an athlete. So if you can move down one spot and still get Jayden Daniels, I think you should do that because you're going to pick up a lot more picks. Plus, you still have pick 9. For whatever quarterback you have, you can come right back and picking up a weapon. Now, this is something I thought was interesting, and that quarterbacks get drafted high, they get overdrafted most of the time. So I thought to myself, how many times has the first quarterback in the draft not ended up being the best quarterback in the draft? These are the type of things that I think of, and this is the reason why I do this. So I went back 10 years to figure out how often this was actually the case. Top guy ended up being the best guy. So in 2013, the first quarterback taken was E.J. Manuel, if you can believe that. Then you had Geno Smith was taken, I want to say, in like the 3rd or 4th round. And he ended up being the best quarterback of that class. Wow, that's a pretty bad quarterback class. But right coming up behind it was 2014 when you had Blake Bortles was the first quarterback taken in the 1st round. And of that class, my contention is that Teddy Bridgewater was probably the best quarterback of that draft because Blake Bortles was not garbage. In 2015, you had Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston was clearly the best quarterback in that class. Honestly, the rest of them really weren't even worth mentioning. But even he is now a backup quarterback. 2016, Jared Goff. Yeah, I think he was the best one in that class. The only one that's even close, I think, is Dak Prescott. He was a 4th-round pick. Yeah, the infamous 2017 where Mitch Trubisky was the first quarterback taken. By the way, Patrick Mahomes, same draft, also in the 1st round, drafted 10th. Then you have Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield was in the same draft as Josh Allen. Josh Allen was the 7th pick in the draft, and I think he was the 2nd or 3rd quarterback taken. Let's see, like Joe Burrow. This 2020 class was really ridiculous when you look at it. In that 2020 class, you had Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, and Jordan Love. Now, Jalen Hurts and Jordan Love kind of come along a little bit later, and Jordan Love really only came into form this year, but I think he's working out and he's looking really good. So I'm still going to give it to Joe Burrow, but that was a really good quarterback class. In 2021, you had Trevor Lawrence, same year as Deshaun Watson, Is that not the same year? No, not the same year as Deshaun Watson. Same year as Justin Fields. So, and was he the best quarterback so far? Yeah, I think so. Kenny Pickett, 2022, Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett was the first quarterback taken in that draft. This says a lot about that particular draft. And then Bryce Young now was drafted first quarterback in 2023. Now, it's only been a year. However, I think C.J. Stroud has far and away exceeded what he was expected to do and looks a lot better than what Bryce Young has done so far. Could be that Bryce Young just walked into a really bad situation. I think that is a lot of it. And however, they're both rookies. So for Carolina to not see the difference, I really believe that Carolina head coach and Matt Rule really wanted C.J. Stroud, but it was the owner that wanted Bryce Young. There's been rumblings about that, and you look like Boo Boo the Fool, and that's exactly what happens. Now, everybody's like, "Oh, Caleb Williams is a can't miss prospect. He can't miss. He can't miss." Well, let's hang out. Most of the time, when prospects are can't miss, they can absolutely miss. You don't know how smart this guy actually is. You don't know how fast he processes information, and the main thing is you don't know how much of his game actually translate to the NFL game. A lot of what Caleb Williams does, like I said, it's scramble drill, it's off script, it's extend plays. Does he have a good arm? Yes, he does. Is he athletic? Yes, he is. Is he Lamar Jackson? Is he Michael Vick? No, he's not. And as fast as these defensive line and linemen and linebackers are get, is he going to be able to be that elusive so that is he going to be able to play the way he played at USC when he gets to the NFL? My answer to that is no. I would much rather see a guy that's on time and on script and throw players open with anticipation and make deep outs, deep ins, make the pinpoint throws that it needs, make NFL throws. Not to say that Caleb Williams can't make NFL throws. It's more like that's not the bread and butter. That's not what he's built for. You want somebody like that. You actually want somebody more like Drake May. But Drake May, I think, is really the third guy in this draft. So the last can't miss prospect was Mr. Trevor Lawrence. Mr. Trevor Lawrence is right now 20-30 as a starter for Jacksonville, completing 63.6% of his passes, and he's thrown for 11,000 yards, 58 touchdowns, 29 interceptions. Those are not terrible numbers, but those are not world-beating numbers. Those are not Andrew Luck numbers. Those are not Joe Montana type numbers. Those are not kick in the door, take over the league, take a step, get on the podium right away with the greatest quarterbacks in the NFL. It's not that. Is he terrible? No. But when you were really expecting somebody to turn your franchise around and this to be the performance, I would say it's at least underwhelming, if not disappointing. So Trevor Lawrence, if he hasn't already, he's going to have to get that extension. You are going to have to pay him because if you don't, somebody else is. And regardless of whether he is what you thought he would be or if he's lived up to the hype, he's still a damn sight better than most of the options you'll see in the NFL. So even the last quote-unquote can't-miss prospect, he won a national championship first year in college, never won a Heisman, had a bit of an injury issue. And by the time he came out, it was like, well, of course he's going to be the first pick in the draft. He did A, B, and C in college. I'm like, all right, because that's the same thing they're saying about Caleb Williams. To me, build the rest of the team. You're going to get some picks when you trade Justin Fields. You will get a haul of picks if you trade that number one pick and you let somebody else come up and take Caleb Williams. You can take Drake May. You can take Jaden Daniels. Is it a risk? Yes, but quite frankly, I think most of the people in that building finna get fired anyway. So I would go ahead and just get a bunch of draft picks, prepare for the future, which could be bright, but also could be disastrous because, Mitch Trubisky. That's my time. Take it easy.